Good morning. Good morning, everybody. And sorry I'm a little late this morning. Been working on some issues here at my office, but it is Tuesday, November 25th, the Tuesday before um, Thanksgiving holiday. Um, and actually, it is my would be my aunt's birthday. Always ended up coinciding with Thanksgiving. Um, Trying to think, I guess she would probably be old, say 95, 96 years old, somewhere in that neighborhood. She passed many years ago, 1982 to be specific. Um, Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Simply Brilliant. I am Phil Brilliant. I think my brain's a little all over the place this morning because a lot going on. These short weeks always drive me crazy because you always want to try to plug 5 days into three. But we'll get through it. It is what it is. Going to cover a couple things and then talk about Thanksgiving. I think this is a holiday that we all reflect upon life, and I kind of do that every day. But I want to hit a topic first because I think it is important, and it's important in Toms River. So we are seeing a lot of bidding, and that is bidding, from Toms River, and in professional bidding. In a normal year, um, what happens is the Toms Township will go out and they will bid for their professionals, attorneys in many different realms, council attorney, prosecutor, municipal attorney. Then you'll have people, engineers. You'll put your pool together of engineers. You'll have your survey. You'll have all these different professionals that you need throughout the year. So as you have a project come up, you can just pluck from your list of professionals, and they've already been approved by council. Because what happens is you have the mayor, the bid goes out, the mayor will ask for appointments from the council consents, and the people get put on a list. And that's how pools happen. And, there's a lot to be said on that process. And do, people who are politically backing one party, people who are, backing one candidate or backing one council person or in favor by the mayor, do they get preferential treatment? It's supposed to be an open bidding process. Um, you know, you could put anybody on those lists and then just pluck the same person every time. There are some, requirements as to how much money they can charge. The lists are somewhat, set in stone as far as pricing goes, but also how much, without competitive bidding, they could actually do for the township. With that said, we've seen last year the bidding went out late in December and it was awarded in January of 2025. Now, the year before that, which we had a mayoral election and Daniel Rodrick won that election. The mayor elect, and this looks to be in November of 2023, said it is imperative that Mayor Mo Hill and his administration take no employment action, advising them not to hire, promote, demote, or transfer employees, and also go out, basically to say, no changes shall happen, and allow my administration to do what they want to do come January 1st. And pretty much there was no hiring, there was no firing. There were some lateral movements that occurred, but there was no bidding, and all of it happened. And actually, if you remember, we had a couple special meetings in January to appoint attorneys, and there were resolutions in the consent agenda relative all that happened back in the transition from Mayor Mo Hill to Mayor Daniel Rodrick. So we have an election November 4th. We have new council coming in, new majority council coming in January 1st of 2026. And on November 8th, the current Toms River Council members who are David Sikosi and Jim Quinlisk and Tom Nivison, sent a letter along with Committeeman-elect Robert Bianchini and Committeeman-elect Clinton Bradley to Council President Justin Lamb and the council members, because again, they're the ones who actually consent anything that comes from a bid, and basically said, you know, for the purpose of a letter, respectfully request that the outgoing council refrain from enacting any significant non-essential appointments to various township boards and commissions or passing any substantial non-ordinance during the transition period following the recent election. Okay. And basically goes on to say it's a desire of the electorate to see that the democratic process continues forward and that the new council people, as they take, responsibility for Toms River on January 1st, 2026, have the opportunity to weigh in and consent on the hiring, firing, and hiring of contractors, professionals for the upcoming year and thereforth. With that said, you remember November 12th, Daniel Rodrick, Stephen Hensel as clerk, put together an agenda that, Council President Justin Lamb, and, the video supports it, hadn't seen, didn't consent to. And he was very outspoken during that meeting and said, I feel I have 7 weeks left. This isn't the right feel. I'm being rushed. I think we need to, take a pause on some of these ordinances. And he voted against many of the ordinances. There were a couple that passed through, one relative to Boatworks eminent domain, one relative to a soccer field, and one relative to some traffic improvements. But he stopped the changes that were going to happen because respecting the new council coming in. There were some other resolutions that were minor that went through, or, and basically but it wasn't a dynamic change in Toms River. By these bids going out early, which we've seen in the month of November now, for attorney, for prosecutor, for engineer, for counsel for Ciba-Geigy, for counsel for other projects, for landfill remediation. I mean, all of these things going out, basically it's sending a message that they're due on December 2nd. And it appears that Daniel Rodrick and Jonathan Solanas, the business administrator, intend to hand this off to council clerk. But by the way, the clerk works for the council, not the mayor, and put an agenda forth on December 10th is the next council meeting at 6 o'clock, not 4 o'clock, remember, so that Daniel Rodrick can drive the Toms River Township vehicle back from Irvington in time to be at the meeting. It's wrong. You really should not be doing that. You should have respect. But I will tell you, I've done some research. It isn't really addressed in the Toms River Township Code. The Faulkner Act Mayor Council does address it in a vague way that basically lame duck appointments should be at the consent of those who are coming in. I need to do some more research on that, and I will by December 10th. But this is just another Daniel Rodrick move that makes it very apparent that this is not about the residents, the voters, the people who live in Toms River. It's about Daniel Rodrick, period. Everything's about Daniel Rodrick, period. Whatever he does, and you will see that whether he is behind it or not, because you can't really find out because there's no admin listed. There is a Facebook page that has cropped up that has a few followers that pretty much bashes me on a daily basis. And why bash Phil Brilliant, resident in Toms River? Because I am one of the 3 committee people on the recall of Daniel Rodrick. And if you can break my credibility, people won't sign the petition. But what Daniel Rodrick will learn is people really don't care about me. They care about Daniel Rodrick and they care about their town of Toms River. with over 8,000 signatures. Last night I was at a meeting, someone gave me about 200. Okay. So the momentum has grown. It is not stopping. People are realizing really who Daniel Rodrick is. And the more and more, we're getting closer and closer to 18,464. And I hope I can give that as a gift in January. And if we don't achieve that goal, we will at least have gotten the word out and educated the residents of Toms River, unlike the letters he puts in your mailbox and the flyers he puts in your mailbox and the newspaper he puts in your mailbox, which one is paid by the taxpayers. Nobody, no taxpayer has been surcharged or paid for anything relative to the recall of Daniel Rodrick to date. If we succeed, complete transparency, there's a special election, and that is paid for by the residents of Toms River because it is something Toms River will pay for. But let's get there first before we put the cart before the horse. Sign the petition. Learn what's going on in Toms River. And how do you do that? Many ways. There's a website, recall Daniel Rodrick, recalldanielrodrick.com. There is a website, Toms River Residents for the number 4 Transparency, and that's TR Residents for Transparency.com. Any Oprah requests we filed, they're all up there. You can go see them. All the factual information, not what you get in newspapers or letters from the mayor. Facebook pages, Toms River Residents for Transparency, Toms River Residents Uniting Everyone, Committee to Recall Daniel Rodrick. They're all out there. And you can also follow me at Phil Brilliant and Simply Brilliant, and I try to put out as much information as I can. With all of that said, I want to take a step back. It's Thanksgiving week. We're thankful this week for what we have. We're thankful for the people in our lives. And I am completely grateful for where I am and what I have. Nobody really in Toms River knows me unless you, you know me. I was not born and raised in Toms River. I was born and raised in Franklin Township in Somerset County by my mom, who basically worked to make sure that her son and their daughter had a life, roof over their head, food on their table. And sometimes, those were not things that at that young age I understood, but I never took for granted. I remember food stamps. I remember getting food from our synagogue because we didn't have some. I didn't really understand that my free lunch tickets, and I always say it was somewhat difficult because I kept kosher, so it wasn't always, the great lunches that they had at schools. Great lunches. I laugh. A lot of peanut butter and jelly in my life probably explains my high cholesterol and high blood pressure. Um, but she sacrificed her life for me, and I think has made me the person I am today. And I've always respected, and she was my best friend, and lost her in 2005. But I've always done the way that she would want to see it done, and what I've done in my life to follow through. I've made mistakes. I've taken ownership on those mistakes. And that's, one of the things that I've always said. I think, you know, everybody makes mistakes. Everybody misjudges. Everybody says something wrong at some given time. But take responsibility. Take responsibility. And I've surrounded myself with good, solid people in my life. Most recently, I've made some great friends who are here in Toms River that I didn't necessarily know before. And we all have a common goal that we want Toms River to be the best place for everybody, not just for one person and his vendetta against people and his agenda. I'm thankful for my family. And, I always say I had a very obscure Thanksgiving because my Thanksgiving was always spent on a plane, train, or automobile because that was one of the court mandated visitations for my dad. And so I never actually had turkey on Thanksgiving Day, not until I was probably older teenager. And I said, I need to be home for Thanksgiving with my mom and go to the Franklin High School football game. So I've tried to adapt over the years. I'm very thankful that my girlfriend Debbie accepted me into her life and into her family, and her family has accepted me. And we'll celebrate Thanksgiving. Though they do let me deep fry the turkey, I still have my eyebrows and my beard, so we're good. Hopefully, I will when Friday happens this week. But I've also owned a business in Toms River since 1993. I've had three different businesses along the way, not due to bankruptcy, not due to anybody's faults, but I did a merger, I left that merger, and I started Brilliant Lewis, and now I'm Brilliant Environmental, and we will celebrate our 20th year in 2026. Very grateful. I have employees that have been around with me for 30 years and followed me along the way because we work together. Nobody works for me, they work with me. So I'm very grateful for what I have and always thankful. And I think as you get close to your family this Thanksgiving and you get to that dinner table, be thankful for what you have, be grateful. Because even though the world is somewhat upside down these days, family and good friends is sometimes all you really need. It is Tuesday. It is November 25th. I'm going to wish you all a very happy and enjoyable Thanksgiving. Be safe this holiday. I haven't decided yet if I'm back on Thursday or Friday, but we'll figure that out and I'll let you all know. I'm Phil Brilliant. It's Simply Brilliant. Have a fantastic day.